So this is our identity prayer. Please say it at home as I say it here aloud. I know that within myself there is that life which is perfect, complete, divine. It was never born and cannot die, for it lives and is God. Within myself is the wholeness, peace, poise, and power of life. This life is health. It is abundance. It is love. There is one life. It is the life of God, and this is my life now. I love starting out with that. It reminds me of who I have come here to be, which is why we call it the identity prayer. Today's talk is called The Cure for the Common Self-Loathing. And as always, I have some quotes to begin with. In the moments of real inspiration, we realize, to a degree at least, that God is all, that which has within itself all that really is, the life in everything, and the love through everything. Another Dr. Holmes quote: if one makes himself receptive to the idea of love, he becomes lovable. To the degree that he embodies love, he is love. So people who love are loved. The reason I start with these quotes with a title like The Cure for the Common Self-Loathing is what we're really talking about is love, self-love. But first, have you noticed that just because you have cured yourself of a cold, that doesn't mean you won't get another one, or at some point in time? You may be in the best of health and still at some point get a cold. So what does that mean in terms of healing our past? Does it mean that if we've worked through something that it's gone forever? Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe once we've worked through it, that's it, and we don't have to deal with that anymore. But what I've noticed is because we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings that can imagine anything, that as soon as we imagine something, and that imagining becomes an embodiment, it shows up, even if it's something that we thought we had laid down before. And so when it pops back up, this old wound that we thought we had healed, it's our time to do what we know to do to then heal it again. So it's our job to, when we find ourselves imagining the past, thus recreating it, to remind ourselves that this is a new day, this is a new dawn, and we can stay present in the moment of who we are now, if we can get ourselves there. And so what do I say week after week about how we get ourselves there? Spiritual practice. Every day, every hour we are meeting. Oh, no, that's another quote. I'm not even up there yet. Our past is a part of us. It is what makes us who we are. It is how we get to be who we are right now, no matter how big the wound. If it went away completely, we wouldn't be who we are. That experience would be gone. So even when we heal it, the experience of what we went through is within us, is in ourselves, and has been part of what has made us who we are today. So things may pop back up. And when they do, it is time for spiritual practice. We can create ourselves anew. We can feel the newness. We can feel the oldness too. But then what are we going to focus on? Since we can create anything we want, recreating the past or creating something new, what are we going to focus on? Because what we focus on, we give power to. Dr. Holmes tells us every day and every hour we are meeting the eternal realities of life. And in such a degree as we cooperate with these eternal realities in love, in peace, in wisdom, and in joy, believing and receiving, we are automatically blessed. And given this is the week of Thanksgiving, this is what we're really talking about, how blessed we truly are. What I love about spiritual practice is what I came to realize, I guess about a year ago, which is that the act of spiritual practice is an act of self-love. That when I go into spiritual practice, whether it shifts my consciousness or not, I have begun the act of self-love. And when it dawned on me that that was really what I was doing, it did shift me. In fact, it has more to do with shifting me every single time than the practice itself. Just remembering that by doing that practice, I am loving myself shifts me and can shift you too. When we go into spiritual practice, it is ours to remember that this is the time we are spending to love ourselves. But here's the thing about that. If how we're spending that time is thinking about it, if how we're spending that time is intellectualizing about it, then we're not letting it into our hearts. Self-love is only felt when we breathe it into our hearts. When we let it in, when we take the time to do that. In the busyness and rush of life, it's really easy to forget that we need to take this time of self-love, because if we don't, in the rush and hustle and bustle, what we may be doing is beating ourselves up. The common self-loathing. The common self-loathing appears when things are not working out the way we want them to. And so we think there must be something wrong with us about that. And we can do that in incredibly subtle ways. We can start thinking something as simple as, I wonder what's wrong, where in my consciousness I'm not holding myself properly. I mean, even that, which is a question you may want to ask, has in it a sense of that there must be something wrong, since you need to shift your consciousness. But when we go into spiritual practice, which has no question in it, simply the practice itself, then we have entered a place of self-love. And it is in self-love that the deepest of healings can actually occur. So instead of asking the question, where in my consciousness do I need to weed out? Simply go into the self-loving practice that is yours. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether it's walking in the woods, whether it's sitting in meditation, whether it's Kundalini yoga or any other kind of yoga, whether it's singing and dancing. What matters is it's that it makes you feel uplifted and thus self-loving. Dr. Holmes tells us every day and every hour. I read that one already. What I love. So recently, how are we doing so far? Recently, I ran into some incredibly large computer glitches, technical glitches. The first one was I had a deadline to get a promo done to help us raise money for our film. And the computer would not finish rendering it, which means put it into a finished product for presentation. It kept crashing. It kept messing up. And I had to do it over and over and over again as the time passed. And as this was going on, I could feel my whole sense of being tighten. I could feel that sense of urgency. I could feel it in my stomach. And so even though I was on this time crunch, I knew from that place things could only snowball. And so I kept stopping, kept walking away, kept breathing, kept reminding myself that I was not this promo. That whether the promo got done or not didn't say anything about who I am. And had to remind myself that again and again and again, until finally I had to lay it down and say, it's just not getting done right now. So I moved on to editing last week's talk. And I got that done, and then it would not upload. No matter how many times I tried, it would not upload so that others could view it. So once again, I had to go back to that place of I am not this upload. I am a divine being. And believe me when I tell you, I had to say this to me over and over and over. It wasn't something I accepted simply or easily. But one of the things I did feel each time I did it was that sense of self-love simply from saying it, simply from being in myself, my spiritual practice. I began breathing it into my heart. I could feel myself reopen. Then when it didn't upload, I would feel myself shut down again. And then I would reopen. And I had to do this over and over. Finally, when the rendering process for the promo did finish, it turned out to be out of the audio was out of sync with the video, and I had to do it all over again. Each time, I had to remind myself that I am not my accomplishment. I am a divine being. I am love embodied. These were not things I accepted easily, but these were things that I could feel enter me and relax me to the point where I could continue from a place of goodness about myself, where I didn't beat myself up so hard. So what I want you to do right now with me is take a deep breath and let it go. And then take another deep breath and close your eyes. And this time, as you breathe in, imagine you are breathing in love itself right into your heart. And then breathe out love itself. Breathe in love itself. Breathe out love itself. Feel yourself become this conduit of breathing in and breathing out love. Feel every cell in your body take in the fact that you are a divine being of God. You are love incarnate. Breathe it in. Have it not just be a thought. Keep breathing in and breathing out until you have totally feel immersed in love. And when you are ready, open your eyes. For years I have beat myself up until I realized the higher shift was in doing the practice itself. Doing the practice like we just did. This is the cure for self-loathing. Love yourself as many times during the day as you have to. When we base our love of ourselves on our effectiveness or our accomplishments, we are not loving ourselves and we are letting ourselves down. Do not hold back love because you did not accomplish what you set out to. Love yourself no matter what. You are perfect just the way you are. Breathe this in. Breathe it in as often as you need to. It's not enough just to hear it and intellectualize it. You got to breathe it in. Dr. Holmes says, infinite love harmonizes our entire being. The healing currents of life flow through us, taking away every negative thought and manifestation, and adjusting our whole physical being to the idea of divine harmony. Divine harmony is the cure for the common self-loathing. As many times as we need to apply it, no matter what the circumstance. In fact, the tougher the circumstance, the more important to take the time to love yourself. This is the great work of our time. Dr. Holmes tells us a thought of love is always healing. If one would take time once a day at least to let go of doubt, distrust, worry, condemnation, and fear, and lay hold of life in its expressions of beauty, truth, and wholeness, that person would be healed. So at this time of Thanksgiving, let's make sure we take time to give thanks to the love we bring to our life. Recognize the blessing of who we are, no matter what we have or have not accomplished. This is not about creating great things, though the power that we're talking about here does create the possibility for us to create great things. This is about curing the common self-loathing that is so insidious in affecting our well-being. This is about reminding ourselves again and again and again, however often we need to, that we are divine beings who deserve love, emanate love, embody love. I'm going to end with a quote by Dr. Holmes. Someday we shall learn to lay our burdens on the altar of love, that they may be consumed by the fire of faith in the living Spirit. Be consumed by the fire of faith of the living Spirit and immerse yourself in love. Thank you. I love you.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.